Welcome to the Dream Life is Real Life podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Hermanson. I know it might seem cheesy or cliche, but if you've got a sleeping giant inside of you, or you just feel like you're made for more, then there's no coincidence you landed here on the Dream Life is Real Life podcast. Listen, as a girl from small town Wisconsin who decided to go all in to her dream life vision, I know how crazy it can feel to chase after wild ideas. Since leaving my 9-to-5 job in academics back in 2015 to becoming a yoga teacher, a life coach, and now a digital nomad, currently living in Merida, Mexico with my husband and Labradoodle, I know that all the cheesy cliches are true. I've watched a lot of my dream life become my real life right in front of my eyes. Oh, and I've learned a whole lot about sales, business, and marketing along the way, and I want to share all of that with you. So here, you can consider me your friend and mentor. As a certified business coach, success trainer, international speaker, author, and copywriter, I've helped hundreds of coaches and entrepreneurs build, scale, and enjoy their online businesses. So here on the show, you'll find the real people, concrete tactics, and weekly motivation and inspiration to make your dream life your real life. I'm going to let you into the nooks and crannies of these dream lives and dream businesses and offer lots of real talk along the way. Because to be a true leader in whatever you're endeavoring in your life and to create a legacy that you're proud of, you need a tribe lifting you up with you on the journey. And I've made it my mission to be that partner with you. Because after all, we are all in this together. By the way, if you'd like some help improving your business and life, then we just might be able to help. Head on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com to learn more about what we do and how I might be able to personally support you and just continue this conversation in making your dream life your real life. All right, let's get to it. Hey everyone, today we are hanging out with Susan Stutzel. Susan is passionate about freeing professional women from self-sabotaging goals. Remember when we talked about that like last week? Yeah, she's here to help us build a life of purpose and balance. As a mindset and productivity coach, she helps her clients ditch overwhelm by finding their voice through the process of rebuilding habits and expectations so they feel successful both professionally and at home. And I cannot tell you how perfect this timing is. We literally just talked last week on the show about self-sabotage and the different ways that it shows up. And now I'm so excited to work with you to overcome it, to ditch it, like you say. So welcome, Susan.
Thanks. I'm super excited to be here today because this is a subject I'm passionate about too, obviously. So just can't wait to talk to you.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's the moon or the season or just the people I'm surrounding myself with. But this whole topic of self-sabotaging our goals is really apparent to me right now. And I'm curious for you, if this is something, you were in second grade and you wrote like the Olympians do, I'm going to win a gold medal. You wrote, I'm going to overcome self-sabotage and help others do the same. Or how the heck you find yourself here with this quote unquote job title. What's your story?
I wish that I was the girl that in second grade was writing that. No, I am the girl that totally set herself up to sabotage. And so I will say that I am an overcomer and I have come up with a strategy and I've overcome a lot of things. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, because I know that it works. I know that it is absolutely possible to live an abundant life, to love every single day. Are there hard days? Yeah. But it is possible to love everything. And so, I come from a background of I'm super driven. I know what I want and I go after it. And some of that, without giving my whole life story, is because I was handed nothing, basically. And so it was either I live that out and, have no goals and don't know where I'm going, or I set the goals and I go after it. And so that was really what I did. And so out of high school, I went after my CPA license. I got it, worked in the CPA world for a long time. And it really fit me because I think we talked about earlier, like I am the type A personality, a bit of a perfectionist and recovering from that now. But I loved that world and I loved that life. And I was going after it and all the hustle and all of the things. And I'm still a CPA and the proud owner of a CPA firm. But I've recently shifted and pivoted my practice a little bit to include coaching because I believe in the power of coaching, especially for women, especially for those women business owners that, are trying to go after it. But like the biggest thing that gets in our way is ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that for myself several years ago. I was trying to kill it in the workplace. I had 2 toddlers at home, which was new and exciting and different and exhausting and awesome and all of the things, right?
Yeah.
And so I was goal setting my way into like this life of pressure, and I wasn't living up to my own expectations that were just out of this world high. And that was when I started working with a coach and really seeing the value of honing in, finding that focus, looking for that balance, because I think that's a word that we all want, but we feel like is so out of reach. And I think that we actually can get there. And that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting. You are a CPA as well. I didn't realize that. But I think it makes so much sense when you're talking about like managing money and numbers and like doing the hustle and like the masculine energy thing that eventually you either like burn out and wonder like, what the heck is wrong with me that am so tired and exhausted, or you start to get curious about the other side of the spectrum and like feminine energy and more of the coaching and more of the mindset and finding that balance, like you said. So one of the things you mentioned was this, self-sabotage, and how I believe we're all set up to self-sabotage because of our limiting beliefs, right? And limiting beliefs might sound negative, but I think we all just have like this upper limit that we reach that, we for me personally, right? I grow a little bit and then it's like, okay, but like, don't grow too much. Or like, what if this happens? What if the other shoe drops? Shouldn't you be worried about your health? What about this? It's like, man, it's just like so like clockwork for me. Like something goes good and then I do like I pick a fight or I get worried or I do these little things like to like keep bringing myself down off of these highs that I create in my life. And I see this over and over, right? You have your best month ever, and then the next month, crickets. And you're like, what? We take our foot off the gas pedal. We look for problems. And so all this being said, I'm wondering if this is true for you or if this is just something I'm like theorizing because of some books I've read.
No, you absolutely nailed it. This is the limiting beliefs. Like that is so much of the work that I do because that's where we stop ourselves, because there are so many things that we call it, a problem with sales. We call it, oh, I'm not sure about my marketing strategy. We call it,
yes.
Oh, maybe I'm not fit for the organization or for this company or whatever it is. We call it something else. But at the end of the day, like so many of my coaching calls end in, it really comes down to it's the beliefs. It's the beliefs that we believe about ourselves. It's the ways that we limit ourselves. And it's that self-talk in our head, right? Like we tell ourselves something and then we tell ourselves over and over, and we do it so many times, like we actually believe it. And most of the time, it's not even true. Mm-hmm. It's not true that we're not good enough. It's not true that we're not doing the right things. But we've been telling ourselves that. And so we start to believe it. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I love that was even where you went next, because that's it. I mean, that is so much of what we struggle with when it comes to balance, when it comes to what should we focus on, when it comes to our work, we limit ourselves.
Okay. So let's talk about where we focus, because you're so right. It's a sales problem. It's a copy problem. I have to change this. I need this new shiny object. Like so often the natural tendency is to look outside of ourselves to fix the quote unquote problems in our business. But I've said on this show before that your business is just a mirror of what's happening on the inside. So all that being said, where do we focus?
Yeah, we focus on what we really want. Like we really have to decide what it is that we want. And so one of the processes that I help women go through is, what does success look like to you? And that, I mean, it sounds so simple, but if you really stop and think about it and try to define it for yourself, most of the time, like we grab the pen, we're ready to write it down and we're like, I'm actually not sure. And so it really comes down to,
I know what I don't want. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want, we can do that all day, right?
Right. Or we know what we think the world thinks it should be, right? We need $1 million, or, we've got to rise to the top. We've got to get to the top of the ladder as fast as we can. There's all of those, like the expectation of success. But when we really think about it for us, like, what does that success look like? And we focus in on, if I go after that and leave all the other stuff to the side, then we can stop that self-sabotage. We can go after what that success is. And that's the direction we go. And we've got to convince ourselves in our brain that we're worth heading that way, that that is what we want, and that we're worth it.
And start finding the evidence for it instead of against it. Because as soon as you say, I'm not good enough, then you start finding all the places that you're not good enough. And when you say, I am doing this, I am ready, I am open to this possibility, then you get to start seeing the opportunities, right? You either see obstacles or opportunities, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. And I love what you said about letting go of what other definitions of success might be. So one of my definitions of success is doing what I love and allowing others to do the same. And I've definitely come to learn that, like, not everyone's dream life is mine, of like living in Mexico, working part-time on my, 6-figure, whatever, like all that stuff is just like what is true for me. But man, I still sometimes get well, my mom wants this for me. Well, she said this for me. Well, she's doing that. So any advice on when you set that vision, you have your definition, but then you start getting other inputs or feedback or people telling you, even on the path, how does that look in real time? Got the vision. This is my definition of success, but it doesn't fit with theirs. And she's not with me. And it might upset that person. Advice for that space?
Yeah, absolutely. I recommend write it down. Write it down somewhere, because when you put pen to paper, it actually hardwires it into our brain. It's different than just saying it. It's different even than typing it out. But actually taking that pen to paper, hardwired into your brain, and then put it somewhere that you're going to look at it every single day, because you have to be intentional about really focusing on it. And I believe that comes in repetition, in creating that habit. A habit is built over time, right? By doing it every single day. And putting that in front of you, where maybe it's your screensaver. Maybe you have it as your the first thing that you see in the morning, or maybe it's written in your journal and that's on page 1. And no matter what page you flip to in that journal to write in for the day, you start with page 1 and you read that. And when you keep that right in front of you, you're going to start to believe that. You're going to start to, focus and head that way to go, okay, this is what I set out to do. And then that will limit all those other voices that are coming in, all those things that pull for our attention, because we start out our day looking at that and saying, yep, that's still it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am all about the vision boards, the sticky notes, the positive affirmations. My husband and I do whiteboards, like all of that stuff, because it is really easy to question yourself when you're only in your head. I totally agree. Like pen to paper, if it's affirming yourself and visualizing it, or if it's like sorting through. I haven't mentioned this on the show, but I want to share this because it totally dovetails on what you're saying. Something I've personally been doing recently is 20 minutes of uninterrupted, imperfect journaling. I don't do pen to paper because my thoughts are too fast and I type a lot faster. Thank you, 4th grade typing classes, that I can keep up with my own thoughts a little bit in Google Documents. Because holy crap, like just this weekend, I had this thing that felt so big and so confusing, and like all or nothing thinking totally set in, right? Like crazy fear was coming up. And I like sat down with my Google Doc and I was like, okay, so this is the thing that's bothering me. And immediately my brain went, and we know that's not true because here are all the other beliefs and realities that like they had the opportunity to like step up and be true. But my monkey mind, like, anyway, if people can relate to that feeling of like so many inputs, so many thoughts, like give the journal a try. You don't even need a structure. You don't need to like do it right, but just like give yourself that space, because otherwise your head is running in, like my head is running in 100 directions often, like not all the time, but often. And I think that's where I hold myself back, is considering other options and weighing other people's input all the time, right? And if I just had that like clear vision, that decision, and I was able to sort out what's mine and what's not, I'd probably stop self-sabotaging as much. Do you ever see that?
I love how you even just said the imperfect piece of that, because I think we have in our heads that this journaling is like this beautiful laid out process and it ends up in like this glorious story that like everyone should read. No, it's messy and it's just as mixed up as our thoughts are. But I love how you go through that process, because in 20 minutes, we can hammer out a lot in our brains. And sometimes it just takes releasing all of those ideas and releasing those thoughts, because I'm a firm believer in taking our thoughts captive. I use that a lot just in my coaching, because so many women are talking about, but I have all these thoughts and I'm overthinking, air quotes, and how do I do that? And what do I do with that? But really working through it, throwing all that out in your journal, the questions that you have, the doubts that you have, the thoughts that you're going through. And then you take that captive and you're like, okay, but I get to choose what I'm going to keep. I get to choose the belief that I'm going to keep, and the rest of it can all be thrown out. And then we choose not to tell ourselves that over and over. We choose what we move forward with. I love that process.
Okay, well, I got to just hammer home this I choose thing, you guys.
Yes.
That is so powerful too. Okay. Everything. Yes, yes, yes. And when I journal is that I literally get to choose the things I want to move forward with, right? So here's everything going on in my head. Here's what I want to believe. Here's my North Star. Here's who I want to be, right? And I recently had this switch as well, because as you guys know, we moved to Mexico this year and it's amazing. It's the house off the vision board, all of those things. But just like every plot of green grass, there are things that don't go perfectly, right? So we had a week here of like the water pipes breaking, the laundry machine breaking. It was super hot. Like I just wanted to nap and I didn't have all this stuff, right? And I was like, why is this happening? Like, no. And I remembered a coach telling me, you're choosing everything in your life. So when it feels like things are happening to you, and you forget that they're happening for you, just switch your mindset in that moment, that dialogue, to I choose this, right? I choose Mexico. And some of it is hard, and I choose the hard. I'm choosing this over all the other options I could have, right? And when I remember I chose this, I'm way more patient and like confident that it's all going to work out. So that's huge. I love the choosing for anyone, whatever it is. I choose the sales lull. I choose this crappy team member for now, right?
Right. Yeah. Choices. It is. It's powerful because it puts us back in control. And I think, what is it? Like 35,000 is the number of choices we make every single day, which sounds so overwhelming. I mean, like, think if somebody said to you at the beginning of the day, like, okay, you have 35,000 choices to make. Like, that's just overwhelming.
And I just want us to go back to bed and not deal with any of it, right?
Yeah. Exactly. But some of those choices are so simple. I chose to get out of bed. Yeah. I chose this business or this career, and I choose to love it. I choose the people I work with. I love that. Even how you said, just, this is hard, but I choose it. Like, I wouldn't give up the hard, because it's through the hard that we always like have our best learning opportunities, our best growth, our best stories come through those hardest moments. And I think we can't give that up, but we make that choice. And when we can take that ownership and understand, I made the choice. Like, we always have a choice. It may not be an easy one. It may not be like our favorite choice, but we choose our way throughout our whole day. And that taking that ownership is powerful.
Yeah. And like back to the work that you do, you can ditch overwhelm by owning it. If overwhelm is happening to you, I have all these things and why did I get, right? I'm overwhelmed. I chose this business. I chose this city. I chose this, play this size of a game, right? Like overwhelm comes when you're playing a big game and you're not just standing on the sidelines. So choice, that's my big takeaway. I'm resonating with that big time today, Susan. So thank you for that. Great. So I'm curious, we can, in the moment, we can journal, we can choose any other, I always like to ask, like, what is one step someone can take today to get closer to their dream life and really, ditching the overwhelm like we talked about today? That's one step they can take today.
Oh, that is a hard one because there's so many things always pulling at us, right? Yeah. But I think the one thing that we can do is we choose today one thing that either we're going to say yes to and we go after it and we let everything else go. Or maybe for you, like if you're super overwhelmed, like with all of the things, feeling like I'm trying to do all of it and nothing's working, then choose that one thing that you're going to say no to. Like pick one thing and stop doing it. Stop feeling that pressure to do. Maybe it's something that somebody else has put on you. Maybe it's something that you feel like you have to do. But choose that one thing and then do it. And that can be so freeing.
Yeah. And I think that's perfect for a lot of folks listening who are entrepreneurs. To become an entrepreneur, you have to be a yes person. You have to say yes to learning the things, to going out there, to failing, to growing, to all. You have to say yes to get in here. But to stay an entrepreneur, you have to become a no person.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, you have to say no to really all of the other things. One of the most just monumental phrases I heard early in my journey was every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And I feel like I should know who said that, and I don't know.
But we're all saying it. Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
Borrowing it. I love it as well. Yeah.
But it's so true. We have to, you're right, to get to this entrepreneurial journey, it's saying yes to a lot of things. But then you've got to start saying no to all the peripheral. You've got to say no to all of those volunteer opportunities, all those things that everybody thinks you should be doing. You choose what matters most, focus on that, and delegate the rest or outsource the rest or just flat out turn it down and say no.
Huge, huge, huge. Well, if people are saying, yes, Susan, I am with you. I am done with the overwhelm. Like, let's ditch this once and for all. So I can focus on more of those money and impact generating activities in my life and business. How can they continue this conversation with you?
Yes, please ditch the overwhelm. Please connect with me. Check out my website. It is stutzelcoaching.com. I have regular blog posts on there related to all of the things that we talked about today because this is my passion. And I'm also out on LinkedIn. I throw information out there that's helpful. Sometimes just things that are meaningful to me. And so, yes, please do connect because it's so important to just continue to ditch the overwhelm and focus on what you were made to be and go after that and forget all of the rest.
Amazing. stutzelcoaching.com. We'll make sure we have links to stay connected and continue this conversation with you, Susan, if and when we choose. Yes.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all of that valuable insight. I definitely hope folks are taking notes. This is one to write down, maybe start your journal, who knows? But I'll be back next week with more inspiration and strategy to help you make your dream life your real life. And don't forget to hop on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com/show for specific goodies that we talked about today and access to continue the conversation with these guests as well as myself. I cannot wait to see what you create. Until next time.